I am Gonzalo Sy-Quia Jr. I'm 77 years old. I'm a graduate mechanical engineer, and I've lived my whole life trying to build things as a passion. And I've been exposed to cars ever since I was a young boy, building model cars, learning to drive when I was 15, 16, visiting factories where they built the cars, and eventually it led to building of sports cars. Ever since then, the bug has bitten me and I'm sick with it. So all these years, my passion has been building models of anything: airplanes, cars, boats, trains, etc., etc. So much so that it led me to an engineering degree, mechanical engineering, which of course I enjoyed and applied to my life after graduation. The very first car I built was a replica of an MG TC. It is a vintage 1947, 46, and I used to see this in magazines as a young man, and I've always wanted one. But at that time, there were very few here in the Philippines, and they were very expensive. They cost something like 60,000 pesos, a lot of money at that time. Fortunately, I had a friend who had one, and I visited him in his house in Quezon City, and lo and behold, on top of his garage was a replica in fiberglass of his TC. That project that they had started, Mr. Bart Silayan, who owned the car, and Mr. Chito Macalintal, who was another engineer who was into fiberglass. So I asked them both, "What is that sitting on your garage?" I knew what it was, of course. I said, "No, that's a MGTC project we started, but we never got to finish." "So what will it take to finish?" "Well, you have to build the chassis, you have to get an engine, you have to do it, you have to put it together." I said, "If you guys are not going to do it, how about letting me do it?" The MGTC was the first car that I built here in the neighborhood, test driven by a lot of the kids who grew up here. And I still have it, of course. It's sitting in my garage. Well, to make a long story short, that started the car company we set up together. The car factory that I founded together with some friends was a sports car replica company called Michel Motor Car Corporation. We started about 1993, maybe around that time. Since that time, the company has been able to build about 45 replica sports cars. Each one, of course, has a story behind it. We're talking about MG TC, MGTF, Lotus 7, the Cobra, the Porsche Speedster, the Porsche Spider. But these were all built for customers who ordered them, custom built and custom finished according to their needs. The engineering, of course, is based on the car that was built. For example, the MGs, they have a wooden body, wooden frame, so we used the same type of construction used in England, but the main material we used was fiberglass. We learned about fiberglass from a friend who had the fiberglass as his hobby, so that led us to many other things aside from just the cars. All the cars that we built have fiberglass components in them. As we graduated into our later years, the interest in cars, of course, continues and is there. It'll be there forever. It's really a passion. So we've got on other advocacies, and one of them was building bancas for the fishermen who suffered under Typhoon Yolanda in Samar and Leyte and the Eastern Visayas. And of course, since we're building cars using fiberglass, the logical thing was to build the bancas out of fiberglass. At that time, the wood supplies were just about gone and very expensive and not available. So we pushed for fiberglass bancas. Initially, people didn't want them. They said fiberglass is too heavy, too expensive, it cracks, it's itchy, etc., etc. All objections as to why we shouldn't do it. But there's no alternative, and if you look back now, it's cheaper, it's lighter, it's easier to maintain. All in all, it's a very good product. So it has caught on, and together with many other people who are involved in this, I think we've produced more than 8,000 bancas since Yolanda hit. And this is the first time we ever had fiberglass bancas. Looking at the needs of the fishermen in the Visayas, not just bancas were needed for their livelihood, but every time a storm hits, it wipes out half of their homes. So the traditional way of building homes is nipa huts, wood, GI sheets, but every time a storm hits, they get knocked down. So the next thing I am thinking of is fiberglass homes. And this is something that's under development at the moment. I think it might be a good answer to what our country needs after Typhoon Lando hit. And it's not just the Visayas, but the whole country could use something like this. The most satisfying is to build things which other people appreciate, and especially in the cars. What satisfies me most is not just building the car and looking at it or driving it myself, but seeing it driven and enjoyed by others as well. I am Gonzalo Sy-Quia Jr. I enjoy building things, and that's what fuels me.